America's loneliest highway, Highway 50, stretches from Reno to near St. George. It's 400 miles of basin and range. Quite beautiful if you take the time. Nevada is the most mountainous state in the United States. Wheeler Peak at Great Basin National Park is the second tallest mountain in Nevada. The ancient bristlecone pine trees, some over 3,500 years old, are found at about 10,000 feet on the flanks of Wheeler Peak. The Parowan petroglyphs are found northwest of Cedar City. Some of the petroglyphs are hundreds or thousands of years old. Unfortunately, many have also been vandalized. Cedar Breaks National Monument is in the mountains east of Cedar City. The mountains are heavily eroded and they're painted in reds and whites and oranges and are beautiful at sunset. One of the most spectacular drives in North America is Highway 12, starting in Red Canyon in the Dixie National Forest and running through the Dixie at several locations along with the Escalante Staircase. Bryce Canyon National Park is very similar to Cedar Breaks National Monument, only considerably larger and unfortunately considerably more popular. Many days the entrance to the park is closed and people can only get glimpses of the rock outcrops. However, there are several good alternatives. The Grand Escalante Staircase is a great alternative to places like Bryce Canyon. It has 4 major roads that run north to south from Highway 12. On the far west end is Scutumpa Road, also known as Johnson Road, then Cottonwood Road, then Hole in the Rock Road, and finally the Burr Road. Along each of these 4 roads are amazing slot canyons, gorges, washes, and rock outcrops. Cottonwood Road is another beautiful road that runs north to south through the Escalante National Park. It includes the Grosvenor or Grosvenor Arch, the Cottonwood Narrows, and many other beautiful places along the way. If you follow this beautiful road to its end, you'll eventually arrive at the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. Hole in the Rock Road is at the center of the Escalante Staircase. It's 62 miles of washboard dirt, starting in the town of Escalante and running to Hole in the Rock overlooking Lake Powell. Along the way are many famous sites, including the Devil's Garden, Zebra Gulch, Peekaboo, and Spooky Gulches, and near the far southern end, Hurricane Wash, which leads into Coyote Gulch, one of the largest and most spectacular gulches. After a short, steep climb into Peekaboo Gulch, you're rewarded by an incredibly sculpted and beautiful narrow gulch with climb-throughs and climb-unders and smooth, sensual feel to it. It lulls you into a sense of comfort, but doesn't really prepare you for what's coming next, which is Spooky Gulch. At this point, you're confronted with a 6-foot drop into the darkness and a very narrow canyon of about 10 inches in width. After squeezing through 5 tight spots, you finally make it back out into the sunshine and are greeted with the beautiful surrounding. Further down Hole in the Rock Road is a turnoff to 40 Mile Ridge Road, which takes you to what's called the Sneaker Route, which I never did find, where you can drop into Coyote Gulch, perhaps the most spectacular gulch in the Escalante staircase. 40 Mile Ridge Road quickly degrades into an all-wheel, high-clearance road with at least 3 stretches of sugar sand with hidden ruts and the possibility of tearing out tires or high centering on the exposed ridges in the middle of the road. There are no campgrounds in this area, so you will have to boondock. Coyote Gulch near the southern end of Hole in the Rock Road is absolutely massive. The cottonwood trees down in the bottom help convey a sense of scale. They're about 40 to 50 feet tall. The walls are about 300 feet tall, and the canyon is about 1/4 of a mile across. Kodachrome Basin State Park is surrounded by the Escalante National Monument. It has an amazing landscape, an incredible campground with showers and a 24-hour laundromat. It's a great hub for exploring the Escalante wilderness. After leaving the 3 major dirt roads south of the town of Escalante, drive east along Highway 12 and enjoy the landscape along the Escalante River. It's absolutely spectacular, with steep sandstone cliffs in reds, oranges, and whites, and then the Escalante River lined with cottonwoods, which were turning gold during my trip. If you can take your eyes off the landscape along Highway 12, you'll eventually arrive at the small town of Boulder, where the Burr Trail connects in. Take the Burr Trail. It runs to the southeast and connects in with the Nodum Bullfrog Road, which runs north-south along the edge of the Water Pocket Fold in the Capitol Reef National Park. If you don't take the Burr Trail to Capitol Reef, you can also turn off from Highway 12 onto Highway 24 at the small town of Torrey and come in from the west side of the national park, another stunning location. Either way you approach Capitol Reef, you'll begin to run out of superlatives to describe the awesome beauty along the highway. Unfortunately, there's only one tiny campground at Capitol Reef, and it always seems to be full, so you'll end up boondocking like I did. About 50 miles north of Capitol Reef is Goblin Valley State Park. It has an amazing collection of hoodoos and other rock formations, some that look like they were the inspiration for the goblins in Lord of the Rings, or they came from Easter Island, or they look like a character from The Simpsons. Heading south from Goblin Valley State Park on Highway 95, you come to an area that's called White Canyon. I noticed this area back in 1994 and remarked how beautiful it was and why wasn't it part of any national park or monument. Well, it turns out that in 2016, by executive order, President Obama added it as Bears Ears National Monument. And in 2017, the Trump administration undid that decision, citing the need to mine low-quality coal that no one wants to buy. One point along the White Canyon is a place called Fry Canyon, where there's a parking lot and restrooms, and it appears to be a day-use area. I didn't actually see any signs on the road that indicated that it was part of Bears Ears. All along the road, there were several turnouts where people were boondocking in this area. It's a spectacular area that really doesn't show up as anything significant on any maps or brochures that I could find. Leaving Highway 95, head southwest on Highway 261 and follow the dirt road down the Moki Dugway Summit. This was also an area that was part of the Bears Ears National Monument and also the adjoining area known as the Valley of the Gods. Valley of the Gods is a not to be missed part of the Bears Ears National Monument. It's a 17-mile one-way gravel road in very good condition that runs through the valley, and along the way you see several buttes and pinnacles, and the colors in the valley are just extraordinary. I was lucky enough to get there near sunset, and the colors in the rocks and in the cottonwood trees and in the other places were just stunning. It's also a great place for boondocking. Some people had tucked their trailers and their tents up on these little dead-end roads that just had incredible views. It's a great alternative to the Monument Valley if you don't have the time to visit that location. Goosenecks State Park is a great place to stop and get out of the car and stretch your legs and enjoy the fantastic view of the San Juan River as it cuts down through millions of years of sedimentary rock. It's best at sunrise or sunset. Navajo Valley National Tribal Park, also known as just Monument Valley, is a beautiful stretch of road that runs through the Navajo Nation's tribal lands. You can really get a nice feel for it driving through it. Buckskin Gulch is located on the west side of the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument, about halfway down House Rock Road. It can be a multi-day backpack trip, or as I did, you can drop into the middle of Buckskin Gulch using Wire Pass. I had big plans for my visit to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, but it was so cold and so windy, and none of the park facilities were open, that I decided to bail out and head on over to Zion National Park. Zion National Park has got to be one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I've often described it as a red Yosemite Valley. However, there's a lot more to Zion. Many people come to Zion just to walk the Narrows up the Virgin River or hike the trail up to Angel's Landing. But the valley itself is spectacular, and most people don't go to the backcountry up in the Kolob Terrace and other places. It's very difficult to get reservations to go into Zion, but it's definitely worth it. Smithsonian Butte Road is on the south side of the town of Springdale, which is where most people stay when they visit Zion. It's got great boondocking locations out on BLM land, but it has a very rugged road on the north side that requires all-terrain tires, four-wheel or all-wheel drive, and high ground clearance. After heading back into Nevada, I made a quick stop at Cathedral Gorge State Park to see the gorges and slot canyons and little caves that are located in the park. It has a nice little campground with water and restrooms, maybe even showers, I forget. Valley of Fire State Park is located in Nevada, about a half-hour's drive north of Las Vegas. It has spectacular red rock formations and an incredible campground nestled into the rocks. Unfortunately, it's first come, first serve, and it was all full, so I was boondocking again that night. But I found a really nice location where my nearest neighbor was about 1,000 feet away, and I had a great view. I feel like I just scratched the surface on this park. I look forward to another return when I'm in Las Vegas, when I can go out and explore the canyons, the gorges, and the beautiful scenery. Titus Canyon Road is a 26-mile one-way dirt road that runs between Highway 374 in Nevada near the town of Beatty and Highway 190 in Death Valley National Park. It takes about 2 hours to drive the length of the canyon. There are a couple stretches where high clearance vehicles with all-terrain tires are necessary so that you don't get sidewall punctures or get stuck in some of the ruts. There are also some petroglyphs along the way and an old lead mine. Wyman Road is on the east side of the White Mountains in the Inyo National Forest. It's a steep canyon that runs from about 6,000 feet up to about 10,000 feet on the crest of the White Mountains. From there, you can take another road called Silver Canyon Road and drop back down the west side to near the town of Bishop. And that was my plan. Unfortunately, my plan was cut short. After driving about 15 miles up this road and crossing the creek 6 times, on the 7th crossing, the creek banks had all eroded out and I couldn't get any further. So I had to turn around, which was a shame, but it turned out to be a really beautiful spot, and I didn't encounter anyone on this road. And it was a great place to have lunch and enjoy the view in a totally quiet part of California. I plan to come back with other friends, and hopefully we can make repairs to that one section of the road where it crosses that 7th Creek so we can complete the job. My last stop on the trip was Yosemite National Park. I've been coming to Yosemite for about 50 years. It's still my favorite national park. Zion is close and really beautiful, but there's something magical about Yosemite. Both the Tioga Pass area, shown here, as well as Tuolumne Meadows, and especially the main valley of Yosemite with El Capitan and Half Dome and all of the waterfalls and the Ahwahnee Lodge. But I really enjoyed visiting Utah and saw a little bit of Nevada, mostly just passing through. And I would definitely come back to all of the parks that I visited. I feel like where I didn't spend enough time was the areas north of Highway 12 in the Escalante National Monument. Really didn't spend much time at all in the Vermilion Cliffs. And I definitely want to see some of the high country in Zion National Park and continue on with doing some boondocking camping in that area. In total, I drove about 3,100 miles, including 500 miles off-road. I was driving a 2019 Honda Passport that I'd set up with a bed in the back, a refrigerator, water, heat source, fans. I put in a skid plate and replaced the standard mud and snow tires with all-terrain tires. I tried to get a 2-inch lift before I went on the trip, but couldn't make that happen. I'm hoping to be able to return with that 2-inch lift and eventually larger diameter tires so that I'll have more flexibility in the places that I can go. And I really enjoy the boondock camping when you're prepared. And a shout out to my son, great travel companion and helpful with this presentation.